Hello and welcome to Knit Grit. My name is Cody Lee, and in today's video we're going to go over how to make this really cute bat pattern that I have come up with. I'm really excited with how it turned out. Originally, I'm actually really happy with how these ears looked a bit different. I was struggling with this pattern originally. I was working on it and had these as ears that were ongoing, and honestly, I'm not a fan of these ears as much. They look a bit more mouse-like, which I get that bats look mouse-like, but you know, generally I'm happy with how this looks a bit better. I'm really excited with how this one turned out. If you're interested in supporting our channel, you can go to patreon.com/knit and you can see the different rewards that we have for patrons over there. A bunch of you have signed up on Patreon fairly recently, so I'm pretty excited about that. We give free patterns and other stuff over there. And we also have a Discord server. If you're interested in talking to some like-minded yarn people, you can go over to the links down below. Also in the links down below is a printable PDF coupon for this for the first week on Ravelry. You can go over on there, use the link and the coupon code, and get this pattern, our PDF for this, for free for the first week. After that, it turns to $3. All right, let's go ahead and go to what you will need. So for this project, you will need some worsted weight yarn. In today's tutorial, we're going to be making a dark gray bat. I've already done a light gray, the black, the brown, and also a candy corn version. All of these were done in the Hobby Lobby I Love This Cotton, but I'm really excited with doing it in this color tone as well. I'm using pink and I'm using gray, pink for the ears and the nose. And then if you wanted to do the candy corn, you could easily grab the white, yellow, and orange, and that would work over there. Or if you wanted to do black or gray or whatever color you want, essentially you're just going to do your main color plus whatever you want for your highlight color, which I use pink in this instance. You are also going to need a size 3.25mm crochet hook. I am using a Furls crochet hook. I am an affiliate with them. I love them. And if you're interested in getting your own, again, links are all down below. That's neither here nor there. Essentially, you can use any hook that you need, as long as you get the tensioning that you really want and that your stuffing is mostly hidden. I will show you some techniques that I use in order to help minimize stuffing show through. I have an Amigurumi 101 playlist that I talk about a lot more of that stuff with. Again, linked down below if you're interested, but you will need a 3.25mm crochet hook. I'm also going to be using a darning needle, a pair of sewing scissors. In this tutorial, I'm also going to be using some black fabric paint. I used black yarn to do the embroidery for the wings, but I'm not happy with how that is staying. It seems way more flimsy, and I'm probably just going to take out that embroidery and make some black lines using the fabric paint. I just don't like how it looks. Like over here with this candy corn one, I actually need to redo the entirety of it because it will literally, where is it? There, bonk. It comes right out. I suck at embroidery. So I'm just going to use fabric paint. Speaking of what else you will need, you will also need some 20mm eyes. I used these, I believe they're 20mm, but they are safety eyes, and I love how they look. They're huge, and I think they're super duper cute. All right, let's go ahead and get started. You will also need some stuffing. Okay, so to start the body, you're going to want to make a magic ring. That's right there. We're putting 6 single crochet inside, and then we're going to increase 6 stitches until we get to 12. Next row 18, adding 6 more. Next row 24, adding 6 more. And then we're going to add up to 30. I've already shown the pattern for that part there, but for here, that was rows 1 through 5. So for rows 6 through 11, we're just going to maintain and single crochet around. Then I'm going to come back and show you how we taper off the neck. Essentially, we're starting here, and then we're going to go down, and then I'm going to come back and show you how I bring the neck together, and then how I finish off the body. The more complicated part of this pattern is the wing and the ears and the assembly, honestly. So, again, we made a ring with 6 for row 1. We increased every single stitch to 12 on row 2. Row 3, we single crocheted 1 and increased. Times 6 to get us to 18, single crochet 1, increase single crochet 1, times 6 to get to 24 on row 4, and then row 5 is single crochet 3 and increase until we get to 30. And for the next 6 rounds, we're just going to single crochet around, and then I'll show you how we start tapering in on the neck area. It's pretty quick, it's pretty easy. Be right back. All right, so we've gone around for our 6 rounds, 6 through 11, and now what we're going to do is shape our neck. And how we do that is we do some decreases and then we do a sudden increase. And what I mean by that is that for row 12, we're going to single crochet 3 and then do a decrease. And I'm going to show you how I do our decrease. So 1, 2, 3, and then I do my invisible decrease, which I actually just uploaded a video that I went a bit more in depth with. But essentially I go through the front loops like so, and then I single crochet those 2 together, and I'm going to repeat that 5 more times. So I'm decreasing 6 stitches. 2, 3, 4th and 5th stitch together into 1, 1, 2, 3, oops, 4 and 5 together. Trying not to split my yarn. My lights need to be on. There we go. Give you that nice little spoopy edge. 2, 3, 4 and 5 together. I'm going to keep going until I get to my tail from up here. Then I'll move that along so that's a little bit easier to see. And this is our last one. 3, 4 and 5 together. Now I'm going to put my hook back in. And then I'm going to actually grab my tail from before. And we're going to pull that through so we have a new stitch marker and you can actually tell where your stitches are. Or you could, you know, just use a stitch marker. So, all right, we're on row 13. And here I'm going to again stagger my stitches. So I'm going to single crochet 1, decrease, single crochet 1. This is our final decrease round for the neck. So single crochet 1, decrease, single crochet 1, single crochet 1, decrease. It started raining outside. Single crochet 1. So it sounds so nice when I'm crocheting. And we're going to continue that all the way around, and then we're going to do an increase round, and I'll explain that in just a second. 1, decrease, 1, we're going to pull our tail out right there, and I'm going to pull this through so that it is updated. And here, what I usually would do, so I talk about staggering my decreases and my increases and all that, and how I'm going to actually stagger it on this row, even though technically in a single crochet 2 increase, I would stagger it usually into a single crochet 1 increase, single crochet 1 increase, single crochet 1. But because I just did that for my decrease, I don't want to bring attention to my decreases, so I'm going to single crochet 2. So 1, 2 for row 14, and then I'm going to increase this stitch. The 3rd stitch you increase. So 1, that way our decrease is over here and our increase is there, but we're still increasing what we need to be. 1, 2, increase. 1, 2, increase all the way around. And this is our final increase. And so now for rows 15 through 20, I'm going to single crochet around and work on the body. And essentially, I'm going to add the eyes right around here. My little 20 millimeters that I'm adding for my bats, they're pretty big. So for rounds 15 through 20, we're going to single crochet around for 6 rounds. But before I do that, I'm gonna go grab the eyes so that we can add them on, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so for the eyes, I'm using my 20 millimeters, and I'm going to add these on around the midpoint from my rows 6 through 11. Around row 9 to 10 is where essentially I'm going to be adding these in on, and I'm going to be trying to put them so that they are halfway, so there's like 5 stitches apart. That's not far enough apart, I realize, so I always have to kind of like wiggle it around until it's what I want it to look like. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 stitches between these eyes right there. And so I'm happy generally with how that looks, so good. All right, this might have actually been easier before I did my decrease round, but I can still get it done. We're gonna snap on my eye. We're then gonna take this and snap it on, and I'm going to now just single crochet around from rows 15 through 20, doing just single crochet around for these 24 stitches, and I'll be right back as soon as that's done, and I'll show you how we close up the bottom of the little body right here. All right, so we have stuffed the head while we were away, and I've done my 6 rounds, so 15 through 20, I've gone around and around and around for the 24 stitches. And here we're just going to do a basic close up, where basically for rows 21, I single crochet 1, decrease, single crochet 1, same as I did for 13, and then I'm going to, for 22, just single crochet 1, decrease 6 times to get down to 12, from 18 down to 12, and then I'm going to decrease every single stitch to go from 12 down to 6, and I'm going to stuff as I go, and that's pretty much it. I'm doing the same decrease method that I did for around the neckline as well, and I'm just going to finish it up real quick, make it so that he has a nice little bottom like that, try to get a little less stuffing than I did on that one. Don't know what happened there, but I'm going to go do that off camera, and then we'll be back and I'll show you how I do the wings. All right, so we have finished off and closed up the bottom here, and what we're going to work on next is actually the wings. For the wings, we're actually just going to do, for rows 1 and 2, we're going to repeat the same thing. So I'll explain in this basically. We're doing the same number of increases, we're still increasing 6 times, but we're going to do one row where we don't do any increases on the second row. I just created it on this. There we go. All right, so I'm going to be taking my main color yarn. So if you're making a brown bat or a black bat or a gray bat, your color that you're using, and we're going to create a slip knot. We're going to create a magic ring just like our usual magic rings. So we're going to chain 1 and then chain 2, and we're going to go inside that first chain and we're going to place 6 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull your tail, and instead of going immediately into our increases like we did for the top of our head, what we're going to do instead is we're going to put 1 stitch in each of our stitches for row 2, and we're maintaining those 6 stitches. I like to keep my tail along in the front to work it in, but we're going to work 6 stitches, no increases. So at the end of row 2, you should have maintained your 6 stitches. So 3, 4, 4. Your work will want to flip in on itself. Try to correct it so that the outside is going the right way. I also kind of tug my tail every once in a while. That kind of brings it in and makes it a bit more pointy. 5 and 6. I treat my tail as a stitch marker, and again, it's still trying to flip out. Don't let it. Kind of tug your tail, but not so tight that you warp it. But here we are now on row 3, and for row 3, we're going to go back to what we were doing when it came to our increases. So we're going to go from 12 to 18 to 24 to 30. So again, 12 to 18 to 24 to 30. All we did that differently from the head is for the first 2 rounds we went around, and that's what creates this kind of little pointy tip here, and that's what that is there. We just single crocheted around to do that. We're going to increase every single stitch to get to 12, single crochet 1, increase to get to 18, single crochet 1, increase, single crochet 1 to get to 24. We're going to do that 6 times for all of these, and then single crochet 3, increase times 6 to get us to 30 stitches. Then on row 7, we're going to just single crochet around. We'll be back to show you row number 8 because the way that I do that is a little weird, and I want to show how that's done more than anything. All right, I'll be right back as soon as I get my increasing done, and we'll be back to show you row 8. All right, so we are now on round 8, and what we're going to do for row 8 is we're going to chain our first stitch, And then we're going to kind of fold this in half. The goal is to kind of work across stitches essentially. So I'm going to go into my first stitch here. It can be loose immediately just to kind of show how the stitches work. And then I'm going to go into the first stitch across from it. So these two stitches are across from one another. And what we're going to do after chaining our first one is we're going to do a bobble stitch. And essentially my bobble for this is just putting 4 to 5 stitches within the same stitch. So 1, go back inside that same 2 stitches right there, 2, go back inside 3, go back inside, 4, it's going to get kind of tough, and then go back inside 5. There we go. And so the next stitch after that is we're going to go across again like so, and we're going to slip stitch. This kind of like finalizes that little bobble right there and makes it all done. So now what we're going to do after that slip stitch is we're going to go across. We're going to go across for this, here, here, and here for 4 acrosses, and we're just going to single crochet. So 1, go into the next one, 2, go into the next one, 3, and right here, actually that was 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to slip stitch into the next one. So we slip stitched, and what we're going to do is we're going to do another bobble right here. We're going to put 5 single crochets on the inside. So 1, back inside that same stitch, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then go into the next stitch after that, and we're going to slip stitch again. I dropped my hook. Okay, so after your slip stitch, we're then going to single crochet across 4 stitches again. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4, there we go. And then we're going to do, getting the cat hair out of that, we're going to do a slip stitch here. And then in these final stitches right here, we're going to do another bobble. So 1, 2, 3, trying to keep that part out, 4, 5, and then you should have 1 tiny stitch on the very edge here. We're going to slip stitch off on that. And that should make a nice little lifted part there. We're going to cut our tail, pull that through, and then what we're going to do here is this was our tail before, and I was using that as a stitch marker, so I'm just going to cut that off real quick and get rid of it. And now I'm going to grab this and we're going to put it up through our work like so, and just kind of slide it across. That way it's hidden inside of the wing. I'm going to kind of pull it tight. That way I can just kind of have it be in the middle, and I'm going to slice it off. And then here is where I'm going to try my first attempt at using the fabric paint to put paint on these and make lines. The rest of them I used yarn, and I made some yarn embroidery lines. I'm essentially just going to be doing a line this way, and then this way. Okay, so my video cut out and I lost a bunch of my film. So I had already made wings with the paint on these ones, but now that I'm actually looking at them, they're not looking so bad. These ones have set and dried, and they're still a little bit tacky, so I'm not going to touch them, but they looked super thick to me before they dried, and I did not like that, so I ended up getting a different fabric paint. This is the one that I used on these guys, but I ended up getting a brand new 3D fabric paint, and I tried it out on a piece of felt, and this one is more the size of the wing line that I'm looking for. So we're going to try that again on a separate pair of wings. So I'm going to try that on this one and see how it goes. It might go terribly just like the other ones, but I find that if I go slightly above it to where I want to be and then kind of line down it again, that is my cat. And I line down it again, it gets to be a bit more what I want. So I want kind of here to be a little bit thicker. So we're gonna lightly hover over it. You can always go back and add a little bit more where you think you're lacking. All right, and we're gonna go down this line as well. Try to smooth it out. Make it look nice, and that's pretty much it. I actually like how that looks a bit more here than I like on the other wing, so I'm gonna let these dry. I'm gonna duplicate the same thing on the other wing. I think that this looks a little bit better, so it took a second. I would recommend getting a thing of felt, and I just got it all over my hands. Oops. I would recommend getting like a piece of felt or paper or something and test it out first so you can get an idea of how you like to control and squeeze and do all that. I'm going to mimic that on this wing, and then we're going to go over and start making the ears. Be right back. Okay, so for the ear, we're going to be making a little bit of a more triangular shape, which makes it so that our increases are a little bit different on this one, and I'm going to go step by step on how to do these rows. I am also still implementing my staggering method, but I'll explain that as I go along. All right, so now we are going to take our body yarn, and I'm going to create a slip knot just like I do for all of my amigurumi. We're going to put our same size hook, our 3.25, onto our work, and we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to create our magic ring by skipping and going into the first one. Now usually we would put 6 on the inside. However, because we want this to be pointed, we need less stitches there. So we're going to put 4. We're going to wrap the same way that we have been the entire time, so yarn under, and we're going to pull through 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is where things get a little tricky because there's so few stitches, and because I'm bouncing the camera for good luck, there we go. Because there's so few stitches, we're still going to work our tail through these 4 stitches of row 2, but we're going to increase and try to hold our yarn so it's going outward. You'll see as I go, basically. We're going to be doing a single crochet 1, increase, single crochet 1, increase, going from 4 up to 6. And it's a little hard to see. So we're going to go through the front loop only, keep our tail towards the front, and we're going to single crochet our first one, and then keeping our tail as if it is a piece of our stitch towards the front, we're going to put an increase in the next stitch. 1, trying not to split our yarn, 2. You'll notice that it's kind of flipping in on itself. Try not to let it. Again, I do it after each stitch where I just kind of correct it and form it to where I want it to be. This looks like it would be your next stitch, but it's actually right there. That's still actually from our increasing. Keep the tail in the front, single crochet 1, and then on our last stitch, which is right here, we're going to put an increase. So 1 and 2. Pull out your yarn more, fix your work so that the outside is facing the right way. That is a common problem that I do all the time. And I'm going to pull my tail, but not so tight that it like warps it, just enough that it's not, the tail isn't sticking out of your stitches. Basically, that's what we're going to do. And now we are on round 3. We're going to be going from 6 stitches, which is what we have right now, and we're going to go up to 9 stitches. After this row, things get a lot easier because you have more stitches around and it's not as hard to work with. So we're going to do the same thing where we single crocheted 1 and increased the entire way around. So 1, keeping our work flipped the right way, go into the next stitch. Our tail is not a part of this, and increase 1, same stitch 2, single crochet 1, next stitch increase 2, and then single crochet 1 and next stitch increase. So now we're on row 4, and what I like to do at this point is I have enough tail here to move it into being a stitch marker, which is what I like to do. I don't like doing the first 2 rows because it's hard to get it back out once I do. So that's where I always do it along like row 3, row 4. And then I'm going to move that down. And what we're going to do is we're going to start staggering. And again, as I've explained in my staggering versus stacking, this helps minimize and hide your increases. And essentially, we're going to be going from 9 stitches up to 12. And how you would usually do that is usually you would single crochet 2, increase, adding another stitch, because essentially you're making an extra space every time you increase between your increases. I hope that makes sense. So instead, I'm going to stagger them, and I'm going to single crochet 1 and increase, and then single crochet 1. We're doing this for a repetition of 3 times, going from 9 up to 12. So 1, increase, 1, and this way it makes it so that there's still 2 stitches between, but your stitches, your increases, are not stacked up all on top of each other. So 1, increase, and 1. We're going to move our tail forward. That was row 4. We should be at 12 stitches now, and now we're going to row 5. Sorry if I sound a little under the weather. My throat has been scratchy, and I've been trying to just down tea throughout this tutorial, so. But I wanted to get it out before Halloween, and I love this pattern, and it's so cute. All right, so row 5, we are going to go back, and we're going to single crochet 3, 1, 2, 3, and then increase. We're not staggering this row. It's not an even number. So 1, 2, 3, and increase. And this is going to take us from 12 up to 15. 1, get the hair, get the cat hair. 2, 3, and increase. And finally 1, 2, 3, increase. So essentially we're adding 3 stitches every single round, which helps make this triangular shape that makes the pointed ear. I like doing this a lot to make pointy ears, and I'm going to do the same kind of premise for when we work on our black cat next week for our Amigurumi baby Luna kitty. I'm excited about that. All right, so now we're on row 6, and we're going to repeat our stagger. So instead of single crochet 4, we're going to single crochet 1, 2, increase, and then 1, 2. Again, 1, 2, pull our tail, increase, 1, 2, and finally 1, 2, increase, 1, 2. We're going to move our tail forward. That was our final increase round. We are now at 18 stitches, and now for rows 7 and 8, we're just going to maintain those stitches and just single crochet around them, and I'll be right back as soon as that's done, and I'll show you how we slip stitch off and then how we shape it into the ear. I'll be right back as soon as that's done. All right, so I finished off and I hid my tail. I tucked it inside the ear, but now I'm going to just do a quick little slip stitch off. I'm not going to do anything else other than that, but I am going to leave a nice long, like 12-inch, probably honestly a little bit longer tail. I'm super paranoid with tails. I'd rather leave a way too long tail than way too short tail. And I'm going to tug that, and then we're going to actually shape it so that it curves along the bottom. I do that by using my darning needle. We're going to grab our darning needle right here, and I'm going to put my tail on there, and then I'm going to take it, I'm going to make sure that all the stitches are kind of flush. I'm going to take it and make sure that all of the stitches are flush with each other. So basically kind of pull that up a little bit. And then I'm going to take that and go across through those 2 stitches just to make sure. And then I'm going to take this and we're going to go through the stitches that are adjacent. So all the ones that are kind of across here, we're going to pull that through, not tug too tightly, and do the same thing across up here. Just kind of going across and making so that it is flat against itself. We're going to do this one more time up here. So it's about roughly 5 times. Then we flip it and go down again. This kind of makes it a little bit more flat, just like so. And pull that through and then go through up here. And so now what I like to do from here is I'm going to go through the front stitches between rows for the first one here, and then I'm going to go up here through there and just kind of go up 1/2 inch, not even like a 1/4 of an inch up the side, just to make it so that it more like a 1/4 of an inch, just to make sure that it all kind of comes together and that they look the same. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to take it and put and place it basically onto the side along the eyes. I kind of make it so that it's centered, and I sew it across like there. So I'm going to go add these on after I also take this and make sure that it goes back down to the base to make it easier to sew. That's all done. The outer ear is done, and then we're also going to make an inner ear before we attach those. So this inner ear is basically just a magic ring. I'm going to show how I do it real quick. I'm going to grab my pink yarn right here that I decided I wanted to go for a more muted pink, which is why I went with the lighter dusty rose color than the bright pink that we had. I'm going to make a nice long tail, so that's about 8 inches. And I'm going to again make a magic ring. Go 1, 2, go inside my first stitch. We're going to go back into our magic ring right here, and we're going to place 6 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here I'm going to pull my tail, and then I'm going to slip stitch into our very first single crochet, and I'm going to slip stitch that off. We're going to create a tail on this side that's just as long as the other one. Pull that through. Then I'm going to take this real quick, my darning needle. And what I like to do from here is I like to take it so that this tail is going through the last stitch right there and kind of pull it in. Then I take my first tail, the one that's in the center of the back, and what I like to do is take the center and put my darning needle right where I think the center will be on this piece right here. I'm going to feed it through this real quick, and then I'm going to pull that, make sure that it's nice and taut. Then I'm going to take the bottom where I want this. I'm going to make sure that the second tail is along the base right here, and we're going to take that and put it along the base as well. We're going to pull that through. We're going to kind of tug our tails as need be. I'm also going to take a dab of fabric glue or hot glue and place it right there and let it pull in. And then I'm going to sew the ears on as they are. That takes me a hot second, so I'm going to do that off camera, and I'm going to sew these on. Then we're going to hot glue on the little wings, which is what I do. I always usually put hot glue on the tip right here and then put it along the base. This is still wet, so I'm going to let this dry for right now. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how I add the feet as well. So the feet are exactly the same. You make just little cute bases in the gray color for this, and then you add it onto the bottom of the feet, and I'll show you how I do that in just a moment. Okay, so we're going to add on the feet real quick. I did slip stitch off. I'm going to work with the first one. I'm doing this exactly like I did with the ears just a minute ago. I'm just going to pick a place. Usually I pick right along where I start doing my decreases, and right there's where I add my feet. I'm going to go right across wherever I kind of want it to pop out. I'm going to try to not let things split on the other side, but here we go. I'm going to just kind of pop that up, not bounce my hook everywhere, but then kind of grab the other string that I have as well. And now I'm going to make sure that this is going in the direction that I want. It's not too high, not too low. That's about right. So now I'm going to put that one through. And from here, basically, I'm going to go hot glue the ears, hot glue these ones. I'm going to take this part because whenever I attach these this way, it still kind of just stays on. So I'm going to go take a piece of hot glue, put it there, take a piece of hot glue and put it there, pull in those tails and cut them. I'm then going to go hot glue on my wings or sew them however you want to attach your wings. I'm then going to hot glue the inner ears and sew those along the eye area. So like 2 stitches, 3 stitches out, right around that much. I'm going to go sew them along this part of my head, basically. I'm going to go add that on, and then afterwards I'll be back probably the next day after I've let everything cure and dry and all that, and I'm going to show you how I do the embroidery for the little nose, and then that's pretty much all there is to this little bat. Alright, so we have gotten to the point where I've attached the ears. I hot glued on the centers of my ears. I accidentally got hot glue on one of the parts of the ears, but I cut it off right there. Real good job. And then I also did the wings. It's been cured for a hot minute now, so those are just never coming off, and I'm pretty happy with it. I also did the hot glue on the inside of my little legs. I hit my camera for good luck, but now we're going to work on embroidering the little nose. Here we're going to take our pink yarn, the same as we used for the insides of our ears, and we're going to add it to our darning needle. I have about 24 inches here. A lot, I know, but it's still, it's how much I cut off. I don't need this much, but I always do this. I'm going to put my tails together after I've added it to my darning needle, and then pull the end of my yarn right there. And with that, so that they are even, I'm going to take my darning needle and I'm going to try to center it from like the side up to right there. I want it even between the noses, the nostril area right there. I'm gonna pull that so that I still have a little bit right here, but it's not a crazy amount. I want this to go across like so, and then I'm gonna go down and pull that, trying to keep it mostly straight as I go. And I'm gonna do this twice essentially. So here I go across, and if you're happy with a nose that looks like that, you can do that. However, I'm gonna take my darning needle and go back in from right around here, and I want a double thickness. So I'm gonna pull that until it's just no longer visible, like so. And then I'm gonna make sure that that is still going straight. Go down here. I'm gonna push this to the back of the head, not the back of the ear. That'd be terrible to cut. There we go, back of the head. There we are, I got there eventually. And we're gonna pull that, keeping our tail here straightish, like so, making a double thick nose, and I'm pretty happy with how that looks. I'm going to very lightly pull on the tail so that I can do that, and you can squish it and it'll go back inside its little head like so. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this part, and then your little batty bat is done. I am trying not to cut the actual bat itself, and then even though there's a little pink there, I can squish it and it'll go back inside of the body. So that is pretty much it for my cute little bat. I love how he looks, and he's super adorable. Make sure that you get the free pattern for the first week. You can do that over on our Ravelry, linked down below. Thank you for watching this video, and I would like to give a shout out to our Patreon supporters. We have a Patreon, and those that support us can get things like free patterns and free access to other stuff on there, voting for future tutorials and more stuff like that. If you're interested in doing that, you can go to patreon.com/knit. And thanks again for watching. If you've made it this far, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the little bell before you leave if you want to see more videos like this. Until next time, guys. Bye!